live in the dungeon. This is the Dream Warrior Review. I'm Kurt Thomas.
I'm Mick Strawn.
And this is episode 48. I feel like this movie we just saw,
Yes.
I might have appreciated it more because I haven't read the book. Just my first impression.
You know what? I got to tell you, it was so long ago that I read the book that I had trouble kind of relating to the end of it, because the end of this was not at all like the book, I don't think.
Right.
I mean, I don't remember.
So this is the movie ending.
Yeah, it was definitely the movie ending put together, and still.
I had that problem with Roseanne because I saw.
Oh, did you?
How long ago? 20 years ago.
Right.
I can remember how it ended. And I swear he died, didn't he? And then I was like, well, maybe he didn't die.
No. But they
anyway,
they pretended that the last
it didn't happen.
They pretended that last season didn't happen. You know?
So anyway, we're not talking about Roseanne. We're talking.
No,
about
we're not.
Ready Player One.
Ready Player One. Awesome.
Which I was
Spielberg.
excited about because I'm a Spielberg fan. And it's partly because I grew up and I was brainwashed by E.T. and
well,
a lot of other movies that he made.
I'm maybe a little bit more critical of Spielberg, thinking that he does have a tendency to be a little bit of a style less director. But
I don't know. We could talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, it really is.
When the creator of a virtual reality world called the Oasis dies, he releases a video in which he challenges all Oasis users to find an Easter egg, which will give the finder his fortune. And actually control of the Oasis.
When I read this book, it reminded me completely of the 80s. And especially in that it had so many touchstones in it, and that were all 80s. And the thing is this not the perfect time for this to come out?
Yes.
I mean, here we've got Stranger Things, and we've got It.
Yes.
Yeah, and then this comes out. Oh, it's like a perfect progression.
Actually, I would describe this movie as an 80s movie with modern day digital technology added to it.
And one thing that I love about the digital technology of this film is that there is no digital technology when they're not in the game.
Yes.
And the game itself,
it's like they were shot back into the 80s.
Yeah,
like when he was talking to his aunt, and she's wearing that denim outfit,
right?
And the furniture is all like old, like furniture from the 70s or 80s.
And there was, the stacks, as they called them.
Yeah.
And it's funny, as you're reading the book, I think that when I was reading the book, I saw the stacks as being much heavier and higher and more condensed. Like I don't know why they stacked what was there. I mean, why would you stack something and there isn't something immediately on top of it? There's like 15 feet of space, and then there's something else up there, and then 15 feet of space. I mean,
were there limitations? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you had some limitations.
Building codes? You mean building codes?
Nightmare on Elm Street's junkyard scene?
Yeah.
I don't even know what I'm saying. Like when you couldn't stack cars a certain height.
Oh, well.
That applies to these mobile homes.
Well, no, the certain height was whatever. It's what I came up with in the model.
One thing I had
that was why we had to build it like that.
I had a problem with the fact that they had it was like the opening shot, I think, or one of the opening shots where they had the stack of homes, and then they're kind of coming in on it. And then in the background, the graphic behind was just so. I mean, it made it look worse with the movement. Is what I'm saying.
I'm agreeing with you. I didn't think the stacks were well representing, kind of what was going on. They weren't anywhere near dense enough.
They should have used models. They should have gone old school with it.
Yeah. No, seriously.
Really.
It would have made a great model.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been awesome looking. And, that being the only reality of when you're in reality, that's the only use of graphics
for the
of
most
CGI.
Yeah, for the
But
most
you know
part, the
what?
only thing we saw was the inside of that van he was in.
Yeah,
That's what we
yeah. But the worlds that they got into, which incredibly tricky. I mean,
Yeah.
like, think of the battle that you have going. Is you have all these games and from a production designer's point of view, you have to create an overall look, which they did to a certain extent, but it had to be from absolutely everybody's point of view, and that was hard, especially the fact that so many things in there were trademark. I mean, I wonder to myself how there's probably 4 or 5 dead lawyers out there somewhere, from that turned over in their grave, worked themselves into a grave, that sort of thing, just from trying to make all the clearances that had to go
Just
on.
see the old Doritos bags. That was interesting.
Oh, yeah. How about Freddy and Jason?
Yes.
So they had to make a deal with New Line.
Tons of references.
I mean, and the references just went back forever. I mean, just one right after the other. Yeah.
Well, the game. So when they were inside the game, so about this 9 years ago when I was in Florida, I had this like phase where I was like single and I had nothing else to do. So I was like actually getting into these games where you create your own avatar and you go into these you can go into malls and buy outfits for your avatar. But I never did that. I would just go into the seedy part of town and go to the dance club.
Yeah, well, yeah.
No, but
as you do, right?
But a lot of the shots of them inside the game was like, I remembered it almost looked like that. It was weird, but it was like not as pretty looking, you know.
Yeah.
But no, it's weird. It's a world out there, and I think people are still doing it.
But also the fact that you're looking at so many different levels of graphic completeness. I mean, you were going. There was like Pac-Man-ish stuff going on.
Oh, Minecraft when you were coming in,
right?
and
in Minecraft when we were first in there. I mean, there were so many touchstones and so many.
I think the only problem I had was they had all these references that went way back to the 80s, and they were in 2045. I think it was the year they were in.
Well, yeah, there was kind of a gap.
So I don't know how they would know all these references unless.
Well, there was a gap, like absolutely nothing creative happened from the year 2018.
I guess if they were in the Oasis the whole time, I guess they'd be.
Yeah, maybe
they would only know the references that were put in there. I guess.
Well, then Oasis stunted growth.
I guess
the
so.
Growth of a society, the growth of an entire society.
I was wishing that the guy that that created the Oasis, I was kind of secretly wishing it was Crispin Glover. Like they totally missed the boat on that one. They could have had him there. That would have been amazing. He would be perfect for that role.
There you go.
And then the guy from Linny and Squiggy, the blonde guy. That's a weird reference for him, but he's done a lot of stuff since then, like Spinal Tap and all these other movies.
Michael McKean.
Oh God, he would have been great in the other part. The curator guy.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I don't know. It's just I was thinking about that for some reason.
And unfortunately, the aging on him at the end was a little rough. It was kind of, oh man, they done so much of this stuff so well, and then Simon Pegg. That was a rough aging job.
Well, there were some things that I don't know. I mean, even though I'm nitpicking, it's like I really enjoyed it, and I didn't really care after a while what the graphics were like necessarily. I was into the story.
Oh yeah,
and that's kind of what we were talking about on the way to theaters. Like one reason why I like Spielberg, I guess, is because I'm a sucker for good stories
and like
good
I said,
storytelling.
And I said I'm giving Spielberg credit that his directorial style disappears into the story. I mean, there's nothing in his directorial style that I mean, since Duel.
Could you argue that like production designers and like cinematographers and people that might have more impact, like there's certain films of his like E.T. I'm thinking of that maybe he had more creative influence from somebody else. You see what I mean?
One thing that he did do is he brought a naturalistic looking home life into movies. I mean, he brought us into the tracks.
Yeah.
You know, the tracks of my youth. You know, the Southern California, one house looks just like another all the way down, and what they look like on the inside. And he's still doing that. And in fact, even with the trailers and stuff,
Yeah.
he was trying to do that, projecting it onto 2040, right? You
Right,
know?
yeah.
I mean,
but it was like 1980s look, though.
yeah, well, yeah, it was.
That's what's crazy about it.
Well, the thing is I think that to a certain extent, that's where he's stuck.
Oh God, there's so many references in this movie. It's mind blowing. If I sat down and wrote down every '80s reference in this movie, it'd be overwhelming.
yeah, go forever.
But I got to mention the movie Duel. I just have to mention that.
Okay, go ahead.
Because I was
Go for
obsessed
Duel.
with that movie. I've seen it like 20 times, and my brother introduced me to that movie. Like we were renting it. and
Duel was one of the first tapes that I got back when we got a tape machine, and you went into, I distinctly remember this. We went into a tape store that was owned by the guy who was the leprechaun. and he had a bench, right? So that he was behind the bench.
Right.
Yeah, you know, he was so you would see him go to the end. He'd come over and he'd take your money and
He wasn't
talk
wearing
to
the
him.
leprechaun outfit,
And
was he?
No, he wasn't. and he would go to the end of the bench, and all of a sudden you're looking way, 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 way down, and he would pick up this wooden ladder thing, you know, and you know, and out we would go. And the thing is, though, when he opened the store, I think there were like probably 30 tapes in the whole store.
Oh my God.
You know, it was brand new, the whole idea, the concept. And he says, this is where I'm investing the money from Leprechaun.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I remember getting those big,
It was up in
huge
Canyon Country.
machines, like having.
Oh yeah, when you rented
having
the
to lug home
machines?
this huge machine.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Hook it up to your
Yeah.
phone, your TV, and then trying to figure out how to work it. And then my parents finally bought a VH way late.
And also, I remember when you went to the store. Now this, I doubt that you got this
Betamax,
one.
were you like
the Betamax? Yeah. Well, no.
Well, I know your reference.
No,
I never experienced that.
The thing is they didn't know at the beginning
Which one
was going to go. So they were both in there, and then all of a sudden you just saw the Betamax go down.
And I think that probably was a better quality machine. Probably.
It was a much better quality machine. No, there's no doubt about it. I mean, Betamax, they basically took those machines and they gave them to recording studios.
Yeah. Well, I know about Beta because it wasn't Betamax, but it was Beta when I first worked in TV. We were still using Beta and doing the analog editing. Which
they did it in
and that 70s show.
It's because it used a great deal more. It used a great deal more of the head. On the tape, so you know it was just all around.
And some of the Beta machines had more than one head too.
Yeah, they were much better machines.
Fancy.
So anyway,
we're getting like
we're getting way off here. This is just maybe we should race.
So I can bring it up to the 70s. So in that 70s show, I think they had a Betamax machine.
Bring it up to the 70s,
and they also had
that 70s
they had
show.
an 8-track machine in the car.
Right.
And so this movie is the next decade, the 80s.
Right. Yeah.
So now I've circled back around to this movie. I don't know what I'm doing. Anyway, so the cast was awesome. I like that girl.
Absolutely awesome.
She was in the Bates Motel. What was her name? The redhead girl. Olivia Cook. Yeah, I thought she was good.
She was really good.
And then the guy that played I don't
don't
really know him.
You know, I have no idea what he's done before, but he immediately caught my attention, and he was awesome.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, he's going to be in some X-Men in the future, it looks like.
But
X-Men Apocalypse. He was Cyclops.
But basically, it was also just a vocal part for him and the girl for the most part. You know,
their avatars actually looked kind of like them, which is
kind of like them. Yeah.
Like the eyes.
Well, she had really wide spaced eyes. At first, it was a little disturbing. I mean, her avatar.
Right.
But I have to say, the action moved along. You know, it was a very followable story.
Yes, yeah.
You know, that's the thing is that's also what
You just kind of power through, yeah.
this is also one of the things that Spielberg is very, very good at.
You saw the post. Was it like that? I mean, obviously it would be.
I don't
telling
know.
the story.
People had to keep waking me up. I was snoring.
That was actually on my list of movies to see.
Oh my God!
I like movies like that, though.
You just mentioned it, and I went to sleep.
Like I like the Watergate movie that was done about Watergate with All the President's Men back in the.
Yeah,
I like that movie.
right. Yeah, All the President's. You know what?
Dustin Hoffman.
This show was a pimple on the ass of All the President's Men. Let me tell you.
No, but I guess you have a point there, because like Saving Private Ryan was telling a story, and it did kind of start at the end and then kind of go back to the beginning.
Right, but it was
really linear.
He does like clarity. You know, I mean, he doesn't.
There's no doubt of what's going on.
Yeah, no, there's
No,
absolutely.
It's not like Valerian.
Valerian. Yeah, I'm still waiting for that to end. Yeah, there is no. Oh, what am I trying to say? There's no dichotomies anywhere. You know, it's straight ahead, and there's a certain simplicity to his storytelling. What I'm saying is that as a director, I mean, his style might possibly be the lack of style. I mean, it's all very, very straight ahead, and
Yeah.
it's wonderful. And the thing is they're amazing movies. They're just not stylistic movies. You know, I mean, you can definitely tell a Frank Miller or a Sam Raimi or a
Fellini. I have to go old school sometimes.
Well, you went old school.
Well, you can see.
Well, Hitchcock. I mean,
Hitchcock.
you know, look at directors that have really specific. Nolan, even. You know, I mean, his hard edge kind of look and feel. All these directors have a very specific style, and yet there's a certain sense of where with Spielberg, he kind of he just tells you a story, and he does it really well.
Right.
And
he gets
the
amazing
storyteller
actors to
and the
do it.
storyteller is gone.
And he gets amazing actors to
Yes.
pull it off, like
Oh,
Tom
yeah.
Hanks in half
Yeah.
of his movies, basically.
Oh yeah, basically, yeah, yeah.
Speaking of special effects, usually I'm not a huge fan of like a lot of overly. I don't know. I mean, like I get bored in some of these superhero movies.
Wait a minute. Let me tell you why. It's because they're introducing you into a world that is nothing but special effects, and you know it by its context. In other words, that's what those games look like.
Yes.
Overdone special effects that are completely CGI world gone
But they did a good
bluey.
job. What other movies don't do that are similar to this actually got me into the action.
Right. Yeah. No.
And I felt like I was playing the game.
Yeah. Right.
Basically.
And it did move you through. It had, but that's part of Spielberg's simplicity. I mean,
Yeah.
he still gets you through there
I
and
felt
tells
like I was
you where
in
your
Tron,
center
and I
was.
was in those
Yeah,
cars.
I did have a feeling. Did have a certain feeling.
when they were
of
on the
Tron,
cars,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
there was a point where he was driving a.
But when
I'll be vague about it, but that reminded me of Tron.
Right. But what I'm saying is that this is that story that there was no reality.
Right.
I mean, you're in the CGI world. So instead of trying to be in this world and using CGI to enhance things, what you did is you went into
It was
what
only
you
in that world.
expect to be a CGI
Did
world.
you notice that they were? See, this is one thing I like too, is that it started out pretty much all in that world, and then gradually, kind of, we saw more of the reality, and then at the end, we saw almost all reality.
Right. Oh yeah, with Kid killing out there. Yeah. Yeah.
mhm,
Yeah.
the thing, you know, yeah.
The thing-
And then the thing where he did the thing.
So. Okay.
So I would recommend anybody sees this. Even
Oh
if
yeah,
they're-
absolutely.
If they're
Absolutely.
mildly into sci-fi or gaming or
I
just
honestly,
stories.
this is going to be my highest ever. I'm going to go. What am I going to use as a metric here? Come on, what's the metric?
keys. How many
Ooh,
keys? Yes.
I'm 4.7.
Which is weird. We used the same thing for Insidious, didn't we? keys or.
Well, yeah, but those open up brains. This opened up a game.
4.7.
4.7. I'm saying 4.7.
I think I'd be a little bit more generous. 4.8.
Really?
Because I was really into it.
Yeah. I was into it.
I think
too.
I only had a moment where I said Crispin Glover. That would be cool. Then I said, okay, never mind. I'm back to the movie.
Okay.
I want to know what he's doing. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway.
Do you have any stories about this?
Well.
Story time.
Story time.
It's story time with Mick. 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 Story time with Mick.
Stories about this. You know, getting into the special effects of that sort. I did think to myself that the junkyard was reminiscent of a junkyard that
I was thinking about that. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, there's been. Let's see. Let's count them. There's Nightmare on Elm Street 3. I did a junkyard in. Nightmare on Elm Street 4. I did a junkyard. Warrior of Waverly Street, which was Star Kid and Jimmy Zip. All of them. I did the same junkyard in. And when we were working on Jimmy Zip, and I've got a story about Jimmy Zip. I built a junkyard, and the guy. Yeah, this one kid walks in and he looks around and he goes, "Wow, this looks like a miniature version of that junkyard from Nightmare on Elm Street 4." And everybody started laughing, pointing at me and go, "Yeah, that's the guy." But
which is if the way you did that junkyard was so different.
it was.
I mean, you saw a little bit of the. It was very small.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, where he's climbing up. That's really all you saw.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was. It was very small, and it was very much like the book. Yeah, but so Jimmy Zip, we had there was a guy from Portland, which is the director was from Portland. Star Kid, see?
Yeah.
So the director was from Portland, and he has a sculptor do this kind of like a dragon that you pushed around, right? And it was sort of like consider it this. Think that somebody had taken and made a baby carriage. Only the carriage part of it is this weirdly metallic kind of found art kind of dragon, right?
Right.
And so the director comes up and he brings me the script of Jimmy Zip and he wants me to do it, and it's filmed in a junkyard. And in the junkyard, the kid pulls together these parts and makes this creature, and he makes a bunch of art that goes into a gallery. So I had to make all the art and I had to make the creature. He says, it's a dragon. I want the creature to breathe fire. And I said, okay, well, we'll see what we can do for that. So what I did was I took and worked in amongst it the found art. I worked in quite a few small propane tanks, and then wired them up in series, and ran them through what is called a vortex flour mixer. Now, industrially speaking, they create this flour mixer. It's for making dough, right? And what they do is they blow air through it on the outside, and the air comes through in these jets on the outside of a hole, like kind of like a cup with the bottom.
It's like a sprinkler, right? Like
not really a cup with a bottom out of it. It's that big, right?
Okay. Oh,
and so the flour goes through the center of this, and the air on the outside creates a vortex with the flour and spins it and mixes it. And then they can mix in. And so if they do it over a vat, then this huge vat, the dough is completely mixed as it touches down, right? And they're hard to find, but you order them, and so I ordered one, and I fed propane through the center and then hooked up a fan so that the vortex bits on the outside were being fanned on the outside. Anyway, what it did was feeding propane at like unregulated through it. It shot 30 feet.
Oh, yeah.
And it sounded like a jet engine taking off. Went and we know that because that's how wide my yard was down in and in fact, Chris, who worked with me for many years, this kid, he was I was in my garage and I'm testing it like this, and Chris is standing over here at his house, or he was sitting on his porch in his house, and he just casually goes over and he says, you might want to put your lawn out, because I couldn't see the lawn from where I was here, and the flames were going back and had killed my lawn and then caught it on fire, and I did have to go put it and my deck out, and not the first time I had to put it and my deck out. So anyway, we loaded it up and we took it to a junkyard to do the filming, which I had made, like, with the cars and stuff. And the production's decision was that they weren't going to use a fire control officer. They were going to, I was like, well, I don't know. It's probably not a great idea. Look, you can do it as long as I'm not here. Because here's the thing, is you guys are all idiots. You don't know what you're doing. I do know what you're doing. If I'm found here as being, the adult in charge, we're all going to get arrested because I should have stopped it. Right. But if I set you guys all up and then I get in my car and I leave and go down to the restaurant or something like that, then, if you get caught, it would be so egregious that they wouldn't have any choice but to give you a warning and maybe throw an extra officer on or something like that. Yeah. Well, anyway, that's the theory. Right. So
that's a good theory.
So we filmed for days like that, with running this dragon around, with its jet engine and all the rest of this. And then it comes up to the night that we're in the junkyard scene, the actual big junkyard scene. And we're doing, now the prop guy is firing a gun. And when he fires the gun, he has to go get a fireman there. He gets the fireman there, a fireman sitting with the director on the set, right? And and the director, I look, and when the assistant prop man is just wheeling the dragon around the corner, and it wasn't supposed to shoot that day, around the corner and out onto the set. And I'm like, and I go falling, whoa, wait a minute, there's a fire. And he gets around the corner, and I get myself into this situation. The director is saying, yeah, this thing shoots fire, like 30 feet. Yeah, it's an amazing thing to watch. And it sounds like a jet engine when it goes off. And I'm like, dude, you're killing me. And he goes, oh, look, Mick's here. We can fire it up. So now you have me, and I'm not kidding. Literally, the fire control guy, the fireman, looks at me right in the eye, right? And he goes, yeah, I'd really like to see that.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like desperately, I look down and I say, okay, well, let me open up the valves. And I opened up the valves, and then I went down and I turned the switch on. And as I was pulling my finger away from turning the switch on, I accidentally pulled all the ignition wire off and broke it. And I try it, and I go, oh, it's not working. And the fireman's looking at it, and he goes, well, flip that switch the other way. And I went, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. Maybe I don't remember which way the switch is. I just flipped the switch the other way, and it didn't work, and it didn't work, and it didn't work, and it didn't work, right? And finally, I'm off the hook, and I get off the set.
That was a good idea.
I was like, holy because it would have been just fire that thing out 30 feet, and the fire control officer would have just shut us all down and locked me up. But luckily,
got a quick think. Yeah, you gotta think quick on your feet.
Yeah, you do. You really do.
Wow.
You know, later on, we were actually doing a shot of that from the point of view of somebody looking right down the dragon's throat, right? And there was the second unit cameraman that was just Dick. He was just, and he had just come on the film just for that night, and he was, dude, I got to get a picture of you firing that thing at me. And so he gets in there and he gets 5 feet away from the dragon, plants the camera there and says, okay, well, go ahead and light it up. I went like, dude, you're going to have to back up some. You know, I think that you need to be 30 feet back. It was 30 feet back. He says, this is supposed to, I'm supposed to see it, feel it, have it burning me. And I go, yeah, 30 feet back or I'm going to be burning you. And so I finally got him to back up 10 feet. And he was being just obnoxious. And so I fired it off. And so that next morning, he ate breakfast without eyebrows.
I was gonna say,
it was such a shit.
Wouldn't that hurt the camera too? Or
yeah, you know that there's nothing an Arri B3. There is nothing in the world that would break an Arri B3.
But you probably did.
I mean, other than using it every day.
No, so you probably broken a camera at least once.
Yeah, well, probably at least once. Yeah, no, I do know that when we were in Alaska, we lost several of them all over the place. Lord knows I've broken my share of everything. So, yeah, so that's about it. You know, here, let me fire off my dragon.
Thank you for joining us on the Dream Warrior Review. This is Kirk Thomas along with Strawn. We appreciate you listening to us, and please let your friends and family know about how awesome we are. You can hit us up at dreamwarriorreview@gmail.com, or you can find us on Twitter and Facebook at DWReview. We'll see you next time on the Dream Warrior Review.